Nicole Scott here from Mobile Geeks, and today I'm going to be reviewing the HTC A9. This is a 5-inch smartphone that, well, reminds you a little bit of an iPhone. But to be honest with you, I'm not here to judge this as a clone. I'm here to take a look at the A9 as its own device. This Mobile Geeks video is powered by ASUS. Size-wise, the A9 sports a 5-inch display and is 7.26 millimeter thin. It weighs in at 143 grams. This is a very pocketable and slim phone. It's got great curves, and it is a definite departure from the M9, making it much nicer to hold in your hand. But that's the price you're going to have to pay for one slippery phone. If the A9 were any larger, it wouldn't actually feel as grippable. The 5-inch display actually makes it very hand-friendly in a sea of devices that are 5.5 inches. It comes with a resolution of 1920 by 1080 with an AMOLED panel, and it has 2.5D curves to the edge. It's topped with Gorilla Glass 3 to boot. Viewing angles are solid, and colors are punchy and vibrant in that typical AMOLED way. If you don't enjoy the oversaturation of AMOLED, HTC has included sRGB mode, which makes scenes less vibrant but technically more accurate. The two finish on the aircraft-grade aluminum body plays a big part in why it feels so sweet in your hand. On the top, it looks like we've got an IR blaster. It's not. It's actually a polycarbonate window for the GPS antenna. So if you were hoping to control your TV with your phone, you might have to wait for the next device. One feature that is noticeably absent is boom sound. In terms of the single speaker that they've included, it's actually quite a poor effort.
The Space Cowboys and Hush Concerts present Ghost Ship Annihilation at Pier 70 in San Francisco on October 30th and 31st.
HTC has always been known for their audio quality, but removing this actually shortens the length of the handset, making it easier to manage with one hand. The sound does get better when using headphones. You do have Dolby audio processing and support for 24-bit lossless audio. What you're getting instead of boom sound is a fingerprint sensor that has yet to register a single miss. The more time I spend looking at the home button, the more impressed I am by just how good it feels to touch and how sexy that 2.5D glass meets that smooth matte finish of the reader. But if I'm being perfectly honest with you, if I had to choose between a fingerprint sensor and having really loud sound, I'd choose the sensor just for ease of access to my handset. But maybe you should ask me the next time I try to share a video with my friends on my phone. I might have a different answer then. Under the hood, we have Qualcomm's new 64-bit octa-core Snapdragon 617 processor. If you're not familiar with the 617, it's the latest silicon from Qualcomm and takes advantage of all the extra benefits that have been developed over the past year. The A9 won't be winning any benchmark battles, but in hand, real-world performance, going in and out of apps, scrolling through web pages, chat, and email all feel surprisingly smooth. There have been a few visual hiccups, and there were a few times that I felt that the handset did slow down, but I never felt like I was using a mid-range handset that had compromises. When it comes to the camera, HTC has had trouble getting it right. But the A9 is a good camera. And like most smartphones these days, in good lighting conditions, you can take a great photo. In this regard, the A9 doesn't disappoint. Night shots are inconsistent and can easily be blown out. It's essential that they included OIS, but unfortunately, it can't do much to combat the grain and noise that overtakes your darker photos. When taking video, OIS helps to keep the shake away, but you do have the occasional pulse for refocusing, and 4K shooting is absent. And you can completely forget about taking any kind of video at night. Of course, if you fancy yourself a proper photographer, the simple UI camera can be supplemented by the Pro mode, which lets you, among other things, fiddle around with exposure, ISO, white balance, and raw capture mode, which really lets you get in there and do some real post-processing. If nothing else, the A9's camera is consistently middle of the road, but you do get enough average or even poor quality photos to remind you that the camera is just that, average. Looking at software, The A9 ships with Marshmallow. Since 7 looks familiar, you've got BlinkFeed on the left, which is an aggregation tool for all your social, and the A9 is arguably the leanest version of Sense we've seen yet. Looking at things that they kept, I'm really glad they kept HTC's theme marketplace. This allows for amazing levels of customization with wallpaper, fonts, and icons. Another thing that's going to make a lot of people really happy is that HTC is going to issue updates to Android 15 days after Google does. Looking at battery life, 2,150 milliamperes seems small, actually really small. But using the device, it seems HTC has sprinkled a little bit of magic inside. An optimized Snapdragon 617, Marshmallow's Doze feature, and HTC's own tweaks have led to a phone that will get you through the day. I was able to go about 18.5 hours checking email, streaming SoundCloud for 2 hours. Oh, that was using headphones though, not with the speaker. I even did 20 minutes of Maps navigation, regular Facebook and WhatsApp chat, and I took most of the photos for this video review. So now let's talk storage and RAM, because to be honest with you, this is a little bit of a mess. HTC is shipping variants to different geographies. If you're in the US, you're going to be getting a 3 gigabytes of RAM with 32 gigabytes of storage. If you're in Germany, like most of our audience is, you're going to be getting 2 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigabytes of storage. This is a problem because of the huge price disparity. When it launches in the US, it's going to start at $399 and then after 2 weeks rise to about $500. And in Germany, it's going to start at 550 euros. So this is a huge price difference, considering that the version in Germany has a lower specification. So now we're reviewing the version that has 2 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigabytes of storage. At first I was actually quite nervous about only having 16 gigs of storage because you want to load a lot of apps onto your phone. And even though you have the micro SD card for expansion, you don't want to offload everything onto it. Now Marshmallow actually comes with flex storage. This lets you format the memory card as internal storage, which lets the A9 migrate over some data. The downside is you don't get to decide what makes it over, so my immediate concern was that I would take a hit in performance if certain app data was on the SD card versus on the native storage. But so far, this actually hasn't been an issue at all. So far it looks like only having 16 gigs of onboard storage isn't going to be such an issue, but I would still have trouble seeing past the fact that we're getting less specifications for more money in Germany versus the US. So my blind rage may stop me from picking up the A9 in Germany, but for $400 in the US, if it stayed at that price, that's something that I would definitely consider. So if you're in the market for a pocket-friendly phone that's built like a tank and takes acceptable photos, then the HTC A9 may be the right handset for you. I mean, there aren't that many 5-inch smartphones that have such good build quality and ease of grip in hand. Well, actually, unless you don't count the iPhones. So, I'm your host, Nicole Scott from Mobile Geeks. If you haven't already liked this video, please do, and subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date on all the latest technology news and reviews.
What?